recap of Husker sports. Husker Rewind.
Welcome to the circus.
Here's one out deep right sideline. 50-50 ball. It's picked off. The black shirts with a dagger. Malcolm Hartzog with a giant pick sails the night for the Big Red. We're done. Huskers win. Golly, grandkids.
They are storming the floor. Love it. Say your name, Fred Hoiberg. There's your signature win.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers have run the table and run it back. Back-to-back Big Ten tournament champions.
Here's Tom Stevens and Mike Melby on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome in. Happy Sunday afternoon. It is Championship Sunday in the NFL with 1 minute, 51 seconds to play. The New England Patriots just got a first down and have locked up a 10-7 win over the Denver Broncos, and Sean Payton did not kick a field goal, went up 7-0, had an opportunity to, decided to go for it. Sounds like Matt Rule. And they failed and they lost. So anyway, my name is Mike Melby. Tom Stevens, a little under the weather. I am joined today by Brian Streeter. Brian, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
The conversation we had prior to the show, we're going to have some fun. We've got, first of all, a great lineup. We always do. I always feel we've got some of the best guests. They're the same guests that are on everybody else's shows once a week and all that type of stuff. And we rotate through as many as we can get on. And they all are just fantastic. But the having three of them on every show, I absolutely love it. If we can sometimes get four, if we have big news going on, we try to do that. But we've got Brian Christopherson from Husker Online. He'll be on from Husker 24/7. He'll be on at 5:25. Brian Munson from Husker Online will be on at 6 o'clock. And then Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer Beau Reid on at 6:25. We'll talk about Nebraska basketball. They are 20-0. So I want to go back to something when we were talking about the game and it's snowing and all this stuff. And you said, hey, are you pulling for the Patriots or the Broncos? And I said, I'm not a big fan of Bob Kraft and the whole Patriot thing, but I'm a huge fan of Mike Vrabel. And I told the story, and I've never done it on the air, but I'm going to tell you why I hate the Denver Broncos.
I'm looking forward to this.
So I don't like the Broncos because in 1975, my dad and mom packed me up after the last day of school in second grade. They put me on a Frontier Airlines jet at Lincoln Airport, and I landed at Love Field in Dallas a few hours later. Okay.
All right.
And there may have been a plane change. I don't remember. I was like 7 years old. What I do remember is I went to a Dallas Cowboys football game and I watched Roger Staubach and Drew Pearson and Randy White, Ed Too Tall Jones, Robert Newhouse run roughshod over the Green Bay Packers, and I was hooked.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Okay, so I'm a massive Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Get through the summer and into the NFL season. I get to go to the NFL game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I have cousins that live around the country. And so Christmas comes. We decide we're not going to fly back to Nebraska. We're going to stay here in Dallas, which is where we live. It was actually a little town called DeSoto, which is now a high school football powerhouse. But anyway, we live in DeSoto, Texas. And my cousins who live in Denver send me a Broncos sweatshirt.
Oh, man.
For Christmas. And I literally got pissed and I started stomping around. I'm trying to tear the sweatshirt. 7-year-old me is trying to rip a sweatshirt in half.
Going Hulk mode.
Yeah, going Hulk mode, okay? I think I pulled a couple of muscles I didn't know I had yet, right? Because I'm only 7.
Sure.
And I burst into tears screaming about how could he do this? And I threw it into an actual live burning wood fireplace. And I threw it into the fireplace. So that was my disdain for the Broncos. Anyway, Broncos fall. Their season's done. Patriots back in the Super Bowl. Almost an unbelievable story. Yeah. You know what else is almost an unbelievable story?
What is it?
We're all dreaming and no one better wake us up. Nebraska basketball is 20-0.
Let's say that again. Nebraska basketball, 20-0.
You know, that's as crazy as saying Indiana Hoosiers, national champions, undefeated.
Yeah.
I love the correlation of people. Nebraska fans at times to other fan bases are insufferable. And I completely get it. I agree. And it's not the whole fan base, but there are some.
There are always a few.
there are so few people now with as much misery as Nebraska basketball fans have had over the course of their lives.
Yes.
Like, even the people that despise everything about the University of Nebraska are like, that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah. They deserve it.
So the dream, the bubble may pop of an undefeated national championship season, okay, for Nebraska on Tuesday.
Yep.
They're going to play the number 2 team in the country. I think they're going to be a dog by about, I think it's 10.5. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
At any rate, they play at Michigan. But more than likely, Houston lost this weekend. They were number 6. We're 7.
Yeah.
And number 4, Purdue, who we play in about a week and a half, they lost twice this week.
Yeah. Lost to what? They also lost to number 11 Illinois at home.
At home, and then they lost at UCLA.
Yeah.
Nebraska basketball fans, your top 5 after about 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, Nebraska basketball team is going to take on number 2 Michigan.
How crazy is that?
And if Purdue doesn't fall out of the top 10, Illinois is going to move in because they were 11. So theoretically, Nebraska could play 3 of their next 4 games against a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, they're number 5.
That's already a lot to digest when we're looking at this is Nebraska basketball. And this is coming from someone who is on campus in the thick of it. The vibes are high. The whole question, we just got back after a week of, after being gone for winter break. The question that all our professors are asking us now is Nebraska a basketball school? That's all that we've been talking about.
Ask Kent Pavelka. He's already defined it's.
This is true.
I want to run over a couple of things here, top of the hour type stuff. Obviously, Nebraska basketball moves to 20-0 with the win over Minnesota, 76-57. They play number 2 Michigan and then what will probably be number 10 Illinois next Sunday, a week from today. I believe our show is going to be at least preempted, if not just we won't have a show next week. Don't know the final details on that. Tip-off is at 3 p.m. Realistically, post-game show is not going to get done until 5:30, 5:45. We've done a show after a 3 o'clock game in the past, although I think it was a 2 o'clock game, whatever. Anyway, so we could do, I don't know yet, to be determined. But Nebraska women snap, I believe, a 3-game losing skid. They're number 24 in the country, 81-75 over Illinois. They almost gave it away in the fourth quarter, but they do hold on. They're now 15-5. They play Northwestern and then at Ohio State this week. Last week, the University of Nebraska announced that women's flag football will be a varsity sport at Nebraska, and I think it is amazing and fantastic, and I'm so stoked.
Absolutely. This is an exciting one.
Earlier today or yesterday, Matt Rule has been asked to try to help with the setup of the program, et cetera. I believe June, July, possibly as early as May, but more than likely summer is when Troy Dannon is looking to hire a coach. It sounds like game 1 will be sometime in January of 2028. And Matt Rule here a couple of days ago or yesterday, this morning at some point, made Nebraska's first official offer.
Yeah.
The gal threw for like 39,000 yards. I mean, her stats are
insane.
There are the best players of NCAA football with EA Sports on your Xbox, your PlayStation.
Sure.
Okay, the best ones in the world with the stats that you put up there, and they're looking at her stats and they're going, she's got a cheat code.
Yeah, there's got to be something. There's something up, down, AB.
Yeah, so at any rate, so Nebraska is going to have a women's flag football team. I think it is absolutely fantastic. And then Axelina Johnson, we already know how good she is. She's going to be an Olympian. We're going to get a chance to watch her. The new outdoor Nebraska track and field facility is open just immediately to the west of the Icebox across the street from Devaney.
Yep.
This young lady earlier this year, she has a NCAA mark that she set in a meet in December, 64 feet, 8.5 inches.
How? That's the only question. It's just how. How are you able to do that?
And this
is impressive.
She said that she did it after she was still like in the rigors of really serious training and wasn't sure she was even going to compete. And her and Justin St. Clair sat there and they kind of talked about it and they went, yeah, let's go out and do it.
Yeah, why not?
And so after her first throw or second throw tied the NCAA record, and I read the story. I believe Amy just had the story in the Journal Star not too long ago. May have been yesterday. And he was like, oh, by the way, you just tied the NCAA record. And why don't you go ahead and break it? She was like, yeah, I got it.
Just, no sweat off my back.
Yeah. And she goes, well, maybe it's because I didn't even know if I was going to compete till a day or two before, and there wasn't any pressure. But
sure. At
the end of the day, Nebraska athletics, Tom and I have talked about it. Absolutely insane. Now, do you go to the games?
I
do. The basketball games? You're down in the student section?
I am down in there. I'm in the pit.
So a story for you and a story for listeners. And some of the listeners have probably heard this before. And our old bosses, although Amy Graham is still in the building, we might get in trouble for this. I think the statute of limitations ran out, though.
Okay.
So go back to the late 90s, early 2000s. And no, it had to be in the early 2000s because I started here in December of 99.
The Roosevelt years.
So, yeah. So Nebraska basketball is a passion for Tom and I. And we would take the single KLIN press pass to get into the game. And one of us would go to one of the gates on the floor at Devaney and press pass. How you doing? Yep, I'm going to go sit down by the press table.
Don't mind me.
And I would walk in front of the students, and I would walk to the other side where Tom would be outside the gate. And the guy taking tickets has got his back to me. And I'm like, Tom, hey, how you doing? Yeah. And I'd slip the press pass through to him. And then he'd walk to the guy taking the tickets. He'd go, here's my press pass.
No kidding.
Yeah. So like I said, statute of limitations had to have run out on that.
Yeah. You can't be arrested anymore.
But then we would go sit in the student section.
No kidding.
Do you know why? Because the students didn't sit.
That's true.
And we would get if we had tickets. And this was the year before we had we bought season tickets. And but we would have tickets up in the stands, and we literally are losing our minds, when we're playing well. And we just got tired of people yelling at us to sit down. We're like, we're not the problem. You are. Get off your butt.
Yeah.
So going way back to when we were doing that. You had a comment. I said that I felt Curt Cignetti and what he's done at Indiana is he's a unicorn. Yeah. And you said, I don't think so.
I don't think he is.
And I want you to share with me kind of you're 21 years old. You're in school at UNL. You're growing up, in a totally different world of college sports. Yeah.
I'm in the thick
as you're in the thick of it with all these changes. Yeah. Tell me why Curt Cignetti's not a unicorn.
I don't think he's a unicorn because he speaks to what college football can and should be. Right? I mean, you look at his roster. He's got 0 5-stars. He brought a lot of his players, I think 13 players over from when he coached at JMU, 3 years ago? He's in year 2. But I mean, it really just speaks to these are players who are not in it for the money. They are not in it for the hype. They are part of the team because they want to be a part of the team. And the reason that they win is because they have a good coach who is showing them discipline. Right? I mean, the whole meme of this season was the Curt Cignetti face, right? Looking at the eyebrow and everything like that. Even if they're up 56-10. Now you can say, yeah, that's funny, and he's got a nice raised eyebrow and everything. But where have you seen that from any other coach? Where even if they are still up by almost 46 points, it's still not good enough. I don't think that's a unicorn thing. I think that is a pretty good coach.
I love that analogy, and I'm going to tell you why.
I'm listening.
Because it applies to Nebraska basketball and Fred Hoiberg. Did you see the video from Connor Esigian of Jamarcus Lawrence's buzzer beater at Illinois?
Yes.
Did you see Fred Hoiberg?
I did not.
Arms crossed, walked away, didn't jump up and down, didn't do a damn thing.
Yeah.
There's a shot of a referee. It was after last week's game, and with the Saturday game last week. I got to switch teams here. Let's go to basketball, not football.
Switching things up.
Well, no, I want to remember who they were playing.
Sure.
Come on, computer, catch up. There we go. At any rate, it was a snapshot, and it had a referee, 3-point.
Yep.
It was good.
Sure.
And it had Price Sanford with a smile on his face. And it had one of the one of the Northwestern players, and I can't remember his name, West, like Jack West or something.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Sure.
Anyway, it had him about 10 feet closer to the camera with his head down.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was Fred. Oh, and Kent Pavelka jumping out of his chair with his arms raised.
Yeah. Usual Kent Pavelka activities.
And Fred leaning against the scorer's table with his arms crossed and just kind of an angry look on his face.
Yeah.
And and it's got little captions.
Mhm.
Referee's saying, that 3-pointer's good.
Yeah.
And Price is like, I just hit another 3.
Yeah.
And the Northwestern player is like, damn, he just hit another 3. And Ken is like, bang, you know, whatever.
Here comes daddy.
Yep. Yeah. And Fred is arms crossed and kind of a weird look on his face. He's like, man, we got to play better transition defense.
Yeah.
You know, but that's,
But
to
you
your
love that.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I think it brings up the world we live in, you know, speculation of $3.5 million they paid Dylan Raiola.
Yep.
Texas Tech had a $50 million roster this year,
Mhm.
like astronomical.
Yeah.
Last year, Ohio State wins the title with a $20+ million roster.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question.
All right.
Signetti won without a $20 million roster.
Mhm.
Okay. By whatever accounts we've got that are not public, but that we've heard,
Mhm.
Nebraska's current roster is anywhere between $2 to $2.5, possibly up to $3 million for basketball.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
Not a lot.
Michigan, who they play on Tuesday, may have a $10 million roster. So the 5 stars that are out there that want $1 million
Mm-hmm.
plus,
Mm-hmm.
do you want that guy? Because the guys that will watch the second half of the Nebraska-Minnesota game,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm going to go back and rewatch it tonight again. I've rewatched every game a minimum of twice.
As one does.
What you should do when you're on a 24-game heater.
Absolutely.
Okay. But when you watch that second half,
Mhm.
watch the way Nebraska plays defense and watch the way Nebraska basically runs Minnesota into the ground, almost like old school TO, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But by the fourth quarter, it's 8 yards, it's 20 yards, it's a 65-yarder for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because of the conditioning
Mm-hmm.
of the Nebraska basketball team.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the fact that they literally watch Connor Esigian in the second half.
Mhm.
He never stops running ever.
Oh.
And you can just, like, the Minnesota guys are just like, I quit. I'm
Yeah,
done.
I can't keep up with these guys.
You got the guy that thinks he's a half marathoner because he just did his first 5K and he jumps in the Good Life halvesy.
Yeah.
Right. And he gets to like mile 6
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, I'm out.
I can't do it anymore.
And Price is like, what are you doing, man? We got 7 miles to go.
Yeah.
Oh, by the
exactly.
way, here's another 3.
Yeah.
And that difference, is the 5-star guy going to play with that amount of effort? And the other thing, Fred, I think it's Ernie Ziegler, and I think it's Nate Linzer as well, and just that entire staff, including the nutrition staff, and it escapes me right now. They're
on a different level.
Yeah, their strength and conditioning coach. I'll find his name here in a bit. At any rate, what they do, it's like they all allow everybody to truly enjoy the game as much as they possibly can.
Absolutely. I mean, you watch and it looks like they are having fun out there.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously it's a lot more fun if you're winning, but still.
Well, it is. But at the same time, you know, you're down 6.
Mm-hmm.
The other team just lit you up for 9 threes.
Yeah.
By the way, they make 8 a game,
Mm-hmm.
and they got their butts chewed
Yeah.
at half. Fred's kind of joking. He's like, well, I started, and then Nate, took a turn, and then I jumped back in.
Yeah.
And the age, the maturity of this team.
Oh, absolutely.
You could tell they came out, and they're just kind of like, dang it.
Yeah.
All right, we got it.
Back to business.
Yeah. So I'm not allowed to watch. After the Michigan State game, I was kicked out of the house for watching any Nebraska basketball games.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. That seems to be a repeat issue with both you and Tom.
Tom's way worse than me.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, this year in that Michigan State game, I absolutely lost it.
Yeah.
So
And rightfully so.
Yeah,
Rightfully so.
Tracy kicked me out. So I went downtown and I watched the next game. I think it was Indiana.
Mhm.
Or was it? It was Ohio State. It was the Ohio State game.
Mm-hmm.
And I then was allowed to come back in the house, but I had not only had to be on a different level, I could not yell.
Ooh. Okay.
So I could jump
there are
around.
some rules now.
Yes, I could jump around, act like a freak and a fool and an idiot,
Yeah.
whatever.
Just silently.
Yeah, just quietly.
Yeah.
So we're down 6 at half, then we're down 8, then we're down 6, then we're down 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's 44-36 or something in that ballpark.
Yep.
Or maybe it was 40-32. I think it was 40-32.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at my cat Maui
Mm-hmm.
and I go, dude, we're about to go on a run. And he just goes, meow. Like,
As a cat
like,
does.
yeah, like, but like, yep.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a 7-0 Price Sanford run, and then 17-2 run, or whatever it was, 14-0 run.
Yeah.
And, I'm just sitting there with my legs crossed, hands behind my back.
Yeah.
It's like if I smoked a cigar, I'd be smoking a cigar and, swirling my glass of brandy.
Yeah.
But it was just comfortable.
But that speaks to the again, just the way that this team acts, right? Like, yeah, they can be down going into the half. They were down at the half going against Minnesota, going against Indiana, right? But you see this a lot. You see this with old Nebraska teams. You see this with teams today. They get worried, they get panicked, and it all flusters. You don't see that with this team, right? They come out after the half and they're like, all right, we know what we did wrong. Let's get to work. All right, here, they just shot a 3 on us. All right, Price Sanford, let's go shoot another 3, right? They don't get worried, and they are able to remain a team and still execute flawlessly.
Yeah. It's so fun to watch.
It is.
A national media member tweeted out that he encouraged people to go watch the second half of Nebraska, Minnesota, and he compared Nebraska's offensive performance basically to a mid to late 80s Lakers team.
Absolutely.
He said it was as beautiful a basketball as you would ever want to see. So we're down by 6 at half. Tom and I we text back and forth if we're not at the game together. And my text to him was, it's a cuss word in Norwegian, so I'm not going to say it. But we have more air balls from 3 than made threes this half. They're not going to keep shooting that well from 3. We'll heat up, and the D will be insane. Guaranteed win.
Yeah.
But that's just what's now expected.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, like, you get that feeling from them. Oh, we just need to go do that again. So you know what else we need to do? We need to get to break and then get to our first guest here on Husker Rewind. Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7 will join us right after this. You're listening to Husker Rewind on 1400 KLIN.
Which room in your home could use new flooring? Carpets Direct is your #1 source for all things floors, providing free
that we do. We're efforting Brian Christopherson right now. We'll get the phone situation taken care of here shortly. But bottom line, hey, we're looking at some good things all weekend. The one kind of negative, Nebraska wrestling, number 6 in the country. They wound up falling twice this weekend. They played number 2, or they wrestled against number 2 Iowa on Friday night. They lost 22-15, and then they lose 17-16 today to number 2, or it's number 2 Ohio State. Iowa was number 4. Nebraska had an opportunity to win today's match in the final heavyweight match, but they do not, and they fall 17-16. So a couple of tough losses to 2 top 4 teams, and Nebraska wrestling still pretty salty. Mark Manning, a fantastic longtime coach here, and the wrestling team going to get right back at it, and we'll see. It looks like we may have Brian on the phone. Other news, Nebraska 76, Minnesota 57, a dominating second half for the Huskers, and they moved to 20-0, and come Monday about 11 a.m., they might be the number 5 team in the country. How crazy is that?
Hello.
So we'll see if we can't get
Brian. Good. Well,
Brian on the air here. Number 24, Nebraska women's basketball, 81-75 over Illinois yesterday. It was the PBA event, and it was packed. Huskers rolled, and they now improved to 15-5 on the year. They have Northwestern and then at Ohio State next week. Husker basketball will take on number 2 Michigan, and then probably number 10 Illinois this next week. Do we possibly have BC on the phone?
We've got him ready if you want me to bring him on.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, here we go.
BC, how you doing, man?
Well, Mike. Yeah, I'm doing well, Mike. How are you?
Doing good. So what are your thoughts with I don't know where to start. We got portal stuff to talk about, and we got you know what? Yeah, we're not gonna bury the lead. Nebraska basketball is going to be number 5 tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Are we in the upside down?
You know what? It can feel that way, but yesterday was an example of it. I'm starting to get to that point. There's like enough data with this particular team where I'm transitioning my pessimism for like that's built up over like 4 decades of living with Husker hoops and not having success, to moving past and saying, you know what, I trust this group of guys right here, right now, to find a way to solve problems, even when a game isn't going exactly as maybe you had it mapped out. And what they did yesterday didn't surprise me. Like, you know, they're down 8, and they're not playing their best ball. That was a sure thing. And obviously without Frager, you're like, okay, maybe that is an element where it's going to be tough to overcome, but they're just so connected defensively. And then they trust that over time on the offensive end of the floor, the way that system works, that the shots are going to be there and eventually someone's going to cook. And it all came together again yesterday. And it is fun though. Like you're in a game like that. I drove up to Minnesota. It's -15 outside up there. And you're like, why'd I do this? And, you know, like 3 minutes into the second half, and then 10 game minutes later, Nebraska's, you know, Sanford's hitting a 3 and they're up 17. It's just like, how did that happen that fast? But they've done it before. They did it at Indiana. They did it again yesterday. So long answer long there, but yeah, this group right now, I have faith in them. I don't have that feeling like the other shoe's going to drop.
I don't either. And, you know, I'm sitting here looking right now at the schedule, and I can't even imagine in an average Nebraska basketball year, even, you know, this is 3 straight 20-win seasons for Nebraska basketball. First time in the history of the program that they've ever done that. And they've only had like 16 or 18 total anyway. But 3 of these next 4 games, if Purdue does not fall out and Illinois jumps in, Nebraska is going to play 3 of their next 4 games against top 10 competition as a member of the top 10. And it's crazy. Now, the bubble could burst a touch. We could lose 3 of the next 4 with, say a win at Rutgers, because you're playing 3 super good teams.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, to your point, why are we waiting for the other shoe to drop? Maybe they won't lose all 3. Maybe they won't lose 2. Maybe they won't lose.
Yeah.
The thing that they always seem to have is that defensive intensity. And the other thing that they seem to have is a larger fuel tank.
Yeah.
So, and Coach Hoiberg alluded to that a little bit. And then I believe it was Washington's coach, Sprinkle, that basically said that their conditioning is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about what you see from the Huskers defensively and how they literally run teams off the court.
Yeah, the conditioning is a huge part of it. You got to give a shout out to basketball strength coach Kurt Joseph, but also the sports science department and how Fred is managing his team. Like, they're being smart about it. He knows it's a cerebral group where you can not have to always hit the floor for a full on, put on your armor type practice, but these guys can get mental reps on certain days when it's a short rest period and they'll still be ready. And so it's definitely a factor. Like yesterday, it was a factor. Against Indiana. It was like the last 6 to 8 minutes of that game. Yes, Frager was huge, but all across the floor, Indiana had nothing left in the tank. Nebraska had plenty. And, even yesterday when you're down to a 7-man rotation, in some ways 6, it still didn't seem to bother the guys. They have sort of a group of core guys who I think are sort of built to play 30 minutes if they need to. And that's fine. Not everybody has that sort of squad. Maybe they have 2 or 3 guys like that, but not necessarily 6 guys like that. And Nebraska has 6 or 7 when Frager's healthy. And so, yeah, that's a big deal. And you made a good point there, Mike. You were talking about the tough schedule ahead. They could play really well, and they could lose 2 or 3 of those games. That could happen. And people need to not act like our pets' heads are falling off if that occurs, and understand this team is a really good team. It's a tough schedule. These games can go either way. At the same time, I wrote this yesterday in a column. I don't know if in my lifetime, I don't think you could say that. I know in my lifetime, I've never thought at this point in the season, Nebraska is legitimately in a conference championship race in its league. Even during the Danny Nee years and their best years, I never thought Nebraska was going to topple Kansas or somebody atop the standings in any of those seasons. And if Nebraska wins Tuesday night, going to be tough, but if they win Tuesday night and you think about the tiebreakers they hold, we got to start tilting our head toward if you want to call it a pennant race, so to speak, as opposed to just only the mock brackets. I mean, that would be, think about that if Nebraska won a conference championship, and halfway through it, we're having that conversation.
Absolutely. I read the column and I got chills. I'm not going to lie. I'm sitting there thinking about Nebraska volleyball playing in a couple of years ago, the toughest conference in the country in volleyball. And the joke that it's tougher to win a Big Ten title than it is a national title.
Yeah.
And right now you're sitting there. There's 5 Big Ten teams currently in the projected top 16 seeds in the NCAA tournament,
which is insane,
which is crazy. I want to ask you about specifically one player, 2 kind of. They're the 2 that Connor Esigian, who's out for the season, and Ugnis Yarushevicius. And what do you do with them? Because the talk now is, well, we're just going to shut Oogie down. We've got him back then next season. I've heard he wants to play. If he gets healthy, even if it's for the last however many games we play, because it's maybe a championship game in the Big Ten tournament and then the NCAA, do you think he will play if healthy? And the same thing with the Esigian. If somehow, some way he gets healthy before the end of the season, do you think he jumps back in and just says, you know what, we literally have a shot at a natty, and I can help?
I haven't been expecting that from Esigian. It's interesting you bring him up. I'm not expecting it, so that would surprise me. The Oogie conversation is different and interesting. I've never given up on the possibility that he could swing back into play at some point. Now that's a layered topic though, where really they have to have good communication inside their walls, sort of on, maybe Oogie wants to finish his college career this year, right? Like maybe he wants to explore his pro career after this, whether that's in Europe or whatever. And also with the back injury that sort of labored him and stuck with him, you can't be sure, I guess, that that he's always feeling 100 next year either. Now, ideally, that would be awesome if Nebraska just keeps rolling and you could bring Oogie back next year. He wants to be back, and you get one season with him, then a Seagen, and then Sanford and Frager. You can see the picture. It looks pretty nice with that. All that said, I still have my eye on that one a little bit, just in case, like, it's a deal where, maybe this is a guy who's ready for his next thing after this. And if you can only get 10 games out of him or whatever, but it helps your depth and your team that has a championship cause right now, it's certainly something you've got to keep weighing as you go through this. I think it's a fluid deal, really, especially as you hopefully there's no more injuries, but you can't be sure that's not going to happen either. So all this stuff matters.
Well, exactly to the point of you hope there's no more injuries. Nico Medved is living the nightmare of that right now. He's got 4 guys that would have been rotational players that are going to be rotational players next year.
Yeah.
So frustrating. Let's jump over to the portal. I want to get your thoughts on Nebraska not getting a running back more than anything, but then also kind of give me your synopsis of what you think they did well and if they missed somewhere big or just small.
Mm-hmm. Running back's going to be the discussion that goes until they start playing the games again. And it was sort of that way last year in a way. Like, we had a little bit more data on Emmett Johnson, I think, but I think there were some people still even skeptical that Emmett was the kind of back he actually turned out to be. I was a proponent of them attacking for one more back to add to the competition. That said, I think what they did is they put a lot of resources into the O-line and getting 3 guys there, and you had to spend some money there. And perhaps I don't know exactly what the market price was for some running backs. It could have just been a deal where Pat Stewart's looking at it and saying, I don't know if we can get our bang for our buck at this spot. And we feel like we do have some guys we really believe in, whether the people outside the walls do or not, we do. And we're going to roll with that. So but make no mistake, there's a lot riding on that evaluation if they got it right with the guys they have, because if they did not, and it feels like it's a step behind what it should be, it's going to come up again and again. So I have an open mind about it. I was hoping they'd add one more guy, but it's going to be a big topic that they need to have nailed it on that. The spots I think they did well in, Mike, is linebacker. I really think with Owen Chambliss, he's a huge addition because he knows Orch's scheme so well. He did a radio interview last week, and I think if people heard him talk, they get it. Like, he's going to be really, I think, a strong mentor and teaching the defense to the other guys. And I like Dexter Foster, and Will Hawthorne's a younger guy who has a lot of upside. So linebacker was a good spot. I like the O-line, like I said. I think there's 3 guys who could potentially start. Potentially, I say. You got to let that competition go. But enjoying Justin Evans and Elijah Pritchett. And then quarterback, for what it was, the spot they were in, I honestly think they came out as roses as they could have there. I can see why they went after Minchie first and foremost, but I would say that probably people don't have to squint or talk themselves into the fact they're probably as interested in Calandria and what he could do and his upside as they would have been in Minchie. And so I think they came out of that okay. And then the fact that Danny Kalin decided to come back home and give you 3 guys in that room who have starting experience, that's way better than I could have thought it was going to turn out for him at the end of December. So QB, at least on paper, I think they did a nice job for the spot they were in.
Let me ask you about that QB room. When it all shakes out, Latif, Kalin, Calandria? Who starts?
Well, I hope it's the competition that it's said to be, and that the guys I think want it to be, and that would be our first actual QB competition since probably the first year of like the Frost era, maybe when Adrian Martinez beats out Jebbia. Was it Jebbia?
Yep, Tristan Jebbia.
So that other than that, I've always sort of felt like we knew who it was going to be. I think people are going to presume it's Calandria because he was like the first portal ad. And if you said, okay, you're going to bet your 2018 Toyota RAV, which is, my RAV's not happy with me, by the way, trying to start up in Minnesota in negative 17-degree weather the other day. But it's still humming. And if I had to bet that, I would say Calandria, just because I think, there is a reason he was like their first, ultimately their QB1 out of the portal. I know Minchie was in there, but and I think there's a lot of upside to him. He was the Mountain West Player of the Year. He can run. I like the fact, Mike, and I bet you agree, that they're tilting more toward QBs who are mobile. And, how often in a game on a Saturday, there's probably like 3 times where you're like 3rd and 6 or a 2nd and 7. The play doesn't go like how you drew it up on the grease board. You need that guy who can scramble and get 10 yards. I think he's got a little bit of Favrean tendencies in him, which is good and bad, where he'll do some freelance stuff. He'll hurdle a guy, and he did have some picks that were heavy in his sophomore year. He brought it down a little bit last year. So that's going to be something he's going to have to do well, is protect the ball. But he would be my pick if I were to guess who it's going to be, but obviously we got a lot to play out before then.
So I've been kicking the idea around about trying to just start I've got a whopping 400 followers on Twitter, so it wouldn't be, that good.
You're famous.
Oh yeah. But like trying to start like watch parties for away games with Husker Hoops. I got to ask, and you don't have to broadcast it if you don't want to, but like, where are you going to watch the Michigan game? Your basement, or are you going to go out?
I'm going to watch it in my house. I wish I were up there for that game. Here's what's interesting in the question. I'm going to take it a different way, and then we can get back to where the watch party should be. But I'll be at home. But like yesterday in Minnesota, there was like 8 to 10 Nebraska media up there for that game. And that's an interesting dynamic that is taking place too with this team. Is they're starting to get more coverage, of course, as you'd expect, but like the traveling party is growing for Husker Hoops. Like, I don't know how many were in the barn yesterday, but when Price Sanford hit that 3, Minnesota had like a little mini run, cut it to 5, and then Sanford hits that 3, go up 56-48. And there was like not quite like a high school gym where there's both sides, but there was definitely an explosion from those in red, like a counter punch to the Minnesota fans that was notable. And Nebraska controlled not only the game, but the volume in an opposing arena for like the 3rd time this year. And even at Indiana, I noticed there was more people that were Husker fans there than you might expect in a venue like that. So all that to say, I think that's one of the cool dynamics. Obviously, this fan base is completely on board, but the coverage is going up, and I'm glad that's happening. And also the fan travel. It's not quite the football levels yet, but you're going to see more and more of that. And there'll be some good Husker attendance at that game Tuesday night, I bet. As for where the watch party should be, I'm going to let you decide on that.
All right. I'm going to try. I might get a hold of our GM and one of our salespeople to say, hey, can I promote something and then have you guys go sell it tomorrow?
This is a revolutionary idea.
I say go for it. I mean, I think there is that fever right now for it. And like I said, I just hope people, let's keep it in perspective. These guys are 20-0. They're playing good competition. If a couple games don't go their way, let's keep our wits about us. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. Thank you very much for joining us on the Summit Lawns Talk and Text line. We will have you back soon. Have a warm night tonight, and then hopefully a fun-filled Tuesday.
All right. Always enjoy talking to you, Mike.
Thanks. All right. Thanks, BC. Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7. One of the best guys there is. He was when I was doing Stars hockey, He was the beat writer for the Journal-Star for a year. He was, I think, just 1 year, and it was right after the original beat writer, Mark Durwich, had either gotten a different assignment or took a different job. But at any rate, BC
Wealth of knowledge.
got to know him back then, and he has such a unique way of writing.
Mhm.
It is no doubt that he has been as successful as he has been in his career.
For sure.
Plus, he's just a fabulous human being.
He is.
That's Brian Streeter. I'm Mike Melby. This is Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens is on the shelf for this week.
Got him on ice.
He ate at a greasy spoon in a small town and never trust small town tater tots. That's what I'm telling you.
And never trust on top of that small town tater tots and lobster.
Oh,
That's where it gets really
That's-
dangerous.
That's a really bad combination. At any rate, we'll be back with more right after this. It's Husker Rewind on KLAN.
If you're over age 60 or disabled, Aging Partners, Aging and Disability
And 99.3 KLIN.
Oh, we're back. My name is Mike Melby. That is Brian Streeter. And as I mentioned, Tom Stevens on the shelf got into a fight with Greasy Spoon, small town Nebraska tater tots, and lost. Not sure why he thought he'd win. Anyway,
0-1.
Well, the weird thing is I missed a show a couple of weeks ago, or about a month and a half ago, because of food poisoning.
Really?
Yeah. It was one where I thought someone had put leftovers in the fridge the night before, and then it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas, and then the next morning somebody put them in the fridge after they sat out all night, and then I got up and I'm like, you know what sounds good?
Some leftovers,
and about 8.5 hours later,
Didn't sound too good anymore.
there was beef stew and little smokies and barbecue sauce and whatever I ate that day.
Culinary tour. One might
Yeah,
say.
it was an unpleasant experience. So yeah, and it knocked me down for about a week.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom's feeling better, but still just he said you're just drained.
Yeah. And there's just something going on right
Oof.
now. And mixed with this blistering cold.
Oh yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
So we just got off the phone with Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7, and I liked his thought process on Oogie. That you kind of wonder, has he already decided he's not coming back next year? And I thought he made a great point, and I believe that they do. But he said they had better have fantastic communication behind closed doors. With that situation,
for sure,
because. To me, if you shut him down for the year with the assumption that he's going to come back, and his true deep down belief is that he wants to make this his last year to go play pro, go home to whatever next year, then you just wasted, even if you could get him for a couple of games. This is the MAC player of the year last year.
For sure.
And in the game that he played, don't tell me he would not help us. The depth, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes that he plays a game, and that's it because of a minute restriction, just to make sure the back doesn't flare up or whatever.
Sure.
I'll tell you right now, he's probably going to get us 2 or 3 blocks, 6 to 8 rebounds, and if he hits a couple of threes, double digits, but otherwise probably 6 to 10 points.
Difference maker.
Yeah,
for sure. Absolutely. That's when they got to be smart.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, that we don't know. And I'd love to know. That's one of those things, man. You always want to know what's going on behind closed doors.
Wouldn't it be nice to know?
We all knew that Kenny Minchie was in, and then Kenny Minchie wasn't in.
Yeah.
And we all have our and then the stories.
Yeah.
Well, Kentucky came in with a blank check, and then the agent goes, well, Nebraska offered more money.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's
I feel like if we knew what was going on behind closed doors, your hair wouldn't be as gray and my stress level would be way down.
The way I take too many things in life serious, my hair'd still be gray. That I know. It was funny. So I'm with the gray hair. I've got, if you're not watching, I have longer gray hair.
And might I say, it looks great on you.
Thank you.
Of course.
When COVID hit, I had hair that was about, when I got it cut, it was almost a ½ inch long.
Wow.
And that was it. I just buzzed it. It was just way easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had just finally, about a year before that, at 52 or whatever, been able to grow an actual beard.
Isn't that nice?
I had spotty stuff everywhere, and I'm like, no. Like people call me Joe Dirt. If I try to grow a beard, I'm like, no.
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. And so in 2020, when COVID hit and I couldn't get my hair cut for a while, I was like, hey, let's roll with it.
Yeah.
And so I've had 20 inches cut off, 10 inches twice.
Wow.
But it's tougher to pull your hair out when it gets as long as mine is.
You got to condition yourself.
Yeah. Like in with the Husker football games at times, like you want to pull your hair out and like,
maybe
anyway.
not.
Looking ahead to next hour. First things first, we got Brian Munson at 6 p.m. from Husker Online. We're going to talk some Nebraska football recruiting. We'll talk about Antavius Ellis and Trey Taylor. They're going to be a part of the Millard South football team next year.
Huge news.
And the way that they talk, there's a great article that was written, and I'll have to find it to see who did it. But essentially Trey Taylor saying, yeah, they call it peer recruiting, but man, I'm just building relationships because you never know where they're going to lead. And, we'll talk about Ahmad Houston, a young man that, I'll be honest with you, I'm almost more excited about him on the basketball court. They knocked out a really, really talented team in Louisiana the other day. And he had like 10 points, 22 rebounds, and 7 blocks.
Wow.
And 4 assists. And you're like, oh,
okay. All right.
Yeah, I think that would fit in Fred's offense.
Yeah, we could probably make that work.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting too. To we're going to ping pong around here. It's the last segment of the hour. But talking about freshmen next year, the one from Waukee, Iowa, Colin Rice.
Yeah,
the dude is like, how much does he have to be salivating at what he's seeing? And
absolutely.
then I guarantee you, as soon as his season's over, he's probably going to like do nothing but try to run every day because I think he sees what's going to happen.
Sure.
But can you imagine if you've got a seasoned Braden Frager?
Yeah.
That's got all the experience and all the grind and the stuff that he's gone through this year.
Mm-hmm.
Asijan comes back. Bryce Sandford stays, and I don't think he's going anywhere to another school, but stays as in if somebody talks him into, hey, you may be a late second-round NBA player or NBA pick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it'd be worth the money to go do that.
Yeah.
He probably would make more here,
Mm-hmm.
but you got those guys back. If Oogie were to come back, and you'd have Asijan, you'd have Colin Rice, and you would have Bryce Sandford that are all just deadly from
An
three.
Insane lineup right there. I mean, just imagining it, my head's about to explode.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you've got Quentin Rhymes that's redshirting this year.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that young man has got talent coming out of everywhere. I mean,
absolutely.
This and again, this goes back to what you alluded to in the very first segment about Curt Cignetti. Basically, didn't go out and get a bunch of 5-stars.
Mm-hmm.
He went out and got a bunch of guys that care, that want to play the game the right way, and that do things. That do what they're told, and when they don't do what they're told, they get held accountable.
Absolutely.
And they learn from it.
They can be taught.
Yeah, and it's an old team.
It's an old school thing,
and that's the key. Nebraska basketball, one of the oldest teams in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to flip it to last year, Nebraska 2025 football team.
Yeah,
what they have 82 freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah,
so. What that means is we got about 50 seconds.
Yep, that does.
It looked like it startled you.
I jumped a little bit. I wasn't expecting some Alan Parsons project.
All right, that'll wrap up hour number 1 of Husker Rewind. Again, Tom out. He's on the mend. He'll be back if we have a show after the Illinois game next week. That's Brian Streeter. I'm Mike Melby. Brian Munson from Husker Online will join us next. It's Husker Rewind.
Every time. Husker Rewind on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind. I'm Mike Melby. That is Brian Streeter. He's man on the board tonight. Tom Stevens under the weather. Disagreement with small town Nebraska tater tots is pretty much how it went.
Dangerous game out there.
It is. Happy to be joined on the Summit Lawns Talk and text line now by Husker Online's Brian Munson. Brian, how are you this fine Sunday afternoon?
I'm doing well, man. Just checking out the Seahawks now. I don't know if you guys all know my son played high school football at Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Really?
So we got a little bit on the line here.
There's some stakes.
We're definitely vested with him.
Nice. Did you care with the Broncos and the Pats or not?
Oh, of course I did. I'm a Bills fan, so I did not want the outcome that it came with. But I think we all are. I think Patriots fans should be very concerned because that doesn't seem like an offense right now that's clicking on all cylinders. I know that they hit some pretty bad weather conditions the last two games, but even with that kind of considering, I just not really convinced that they've got enough to kind of beat either one of these two teams in the NFC Championship.
Could I just say, Brian, you said you're a Bills fan. As a Jaguars fan, this is going to be difficult for me to get through, but I'm going to do my best in the spirit of professionalism.
Well, I tell you what, I don't have anything wrong with the Jags. In fact, I was in Florida the week after Buffalo, the week that Buffalo lost to Denver. I was there for for basically like a long snapping camp with my son.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Jag fans came up to me and told us to, go get them, so they were very, very, very cool. They were very cool with me in Florida. So I kind of remind you that right now.
Well, they're going to be cooler with you than I will be, but I'll let it be for now.
Brian, it was an interesting portal. Portal. I'm going to use it as it was an interesting portal season. Okay. We lose two key players. One of them, I get it. He's the 5-star. It's dad's in the Ring of Fame and all that. But I never thought Dylan Raiola fit what Matt Rule's offenses have always done. I thought it was a weird fit. Whatever. He's still super talented, and hopefully he has tons of success at Oregon. They get a couple of quarterbacks back. Well, one back essentially from, obviously he committed and then didn't come here because of Dylan Raiola. At any rate, are they better off in the quarterback room because of Danny Kaelin and Anthony Calandria? And TJ Lateef as well in there.
Yeah, and Lateef, and then you get the high school senior that also looks a lot like Calandria. They play a very similar game. I think it meshes better with what Nebraska, maybe always intended to kind of do there. I think back, and while it was a bad choice or it didn't live up to the expectations, Sims was kind of that dual threat guy. He was a very athletic, long dude. Calandry doesn't have that kind of vertical length. He's lightning quick, and I think he makes really quick decisions, which I think is kind of paramount to Holgerson's offense. And I think it's also been something that maybe Nebraska hasn't done very well, is just had maybe that ability to kind of roll with the punches. They've always had to just kind of go down with the sinking ship on a bad play if nobody gets open or a wide receiver falls down or, you got really bad offensive line play on a certain rep. It always just kind of just sounds like, once you've had that one defeat in that single play, it wasn't going to go for any type of yardage, and typically was probably going to be a negative play, overall. So I think Calandria is going to be a very interesting guy to watch. I think he's proficient running the football, obviously. I think he's also an underrated passer. I think he's a competitor. And I think he's a guy that's really improved, I think, week over week at UNLV, which I think is going to be really fun to kind of watch and see, what he's able to do there in Lincoln. So I do agree with you. It is not a slam or any type of talking negatively about Dylan. I didn't think the fit was necessarily there for more of a statue pocket passing quarterback, particularly when you don't have that elite type of offensive line up front to kind of just form the perfect pocket around him. So that's always been kind of like the mismatch in my head as far as like styles.
Mm-hmm. One thing that we know they need to do to be successful is run the ball.
Yep.
Emmett Johnson's not back. Marty Brown is not here, nor is anybody other than the guys that they've got. And essentially, you've got Quentin Ives, you've got Isaiah Mosey, you have Malachi Nelson. Yeah,
there it is.
And Connor Booth. Those are your four guys for the most part. One, that's not a very deep room, and none of them have had an opportunity to say, look at me, I could be the next Emmett Johnson.
Yeah.
Now, I thought Malachi Nelson had a solid bowl game.
Absolutely.
But I just feel like that was they needed to keep the coin purse with a couple extra quarters in that to try to get a running back. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I didn't feel like I'm not going to try to take a shot at Nelson or Mosey with these comments either. Not just like I did with Raiola before, but I think that you have to look at the room and what's left over. There. I mean, you have 80 rushing attempts left in the room. 57 of those, went to Nelson and Mosey. And 20 of the remaining 27 reps went to Quentin Ives. So you basically have 73 of 80 reps to those top three guys basically in the room. And you got a redshirt freshman in Connor Booth. You're going to bring in a true freshman in Jamal Rule. And I am interested to see what Jamal Rule adds to the class, adds to the team. Don't get me wrong. But I just felt like unless you're totally convinced that the upgrades that you are making on the offensive line, as well as potentially the X factor mobile quarterback, is going to just all of a sudden automagically make the run game just considerably better. I didn't think it was pressure that you just wanted to add to next year's team. And as I say that, Jack Smith and Jigba just pulls in a one-handed catch, just phenomenal. But as kind of getting back to that real quick, I think next year's schedule is dramatically tougher than what they went through this year. And
I just pulled it up.
And I think when you take that and you say, we're going to roll with what we got. Okay, then you kind of hoped or expected them to kind of look at the room and have more than 80 reps, more than two guys that are splitting, basically 53 of those, put another guy in there, and you got basically all of them. And you got a true freshman that you didn't really even get a look at out without a conference play, or outside of out of conference play, I should say. So, yes, I agree with you guys. I felt like running back was a need when it came to the portal this year.
With the portals now, it's not now. There's an extra portal. There's not an extra. Is there a portal period after spring ball?
No, there's not.
So they have eliminated that.
Right. You have a roster now for a year, right? So once you've finished up, you don't have to go through the same process again after the spring. You will have just the same roster, and you'll go through and do it again, basically in the winter.
So they've got. I mean, this is insane for next year. You were talked about the schedule. We don't have dates yet. But we know the teams.
Right.
The home schedule, non-con is Ohio, Bowling Green, North Dakota. We have the dates: September 5th, 12th, and 19th. Most years it's an easy 3-0.
Yeah.
Without having any knowledge of what that defensive line essentially is going to look like, which I thought was another spot they could have spent some more money if they had the money to spend. And I thought they missed on a couple of guys that would have been fantastic there. You have at home in the Big Ten Conference, Indiana, Maryland, Ohio State, and Washington.
Yeah.
And then on the road at Illinois, at Iowa, at Michigan State, at Oregon, at Rutgers.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
That's and here's the thing. I don't care how easy or tough the schedule is. Go win 9 games.
Yeah.
All right. Show me something. Show me that you can do. Hey, you know what? Coming into the year, Nebraska was picked to finish 14th in the Big Ten. Okay. All they've done is gone on the road and won every damn game. So it's not like, and I mean, we can go Indiana, Kurt Cignetti as well. But with that schedule, like, what are your expectations for this team moving into next year?
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of posed the question, what's the over under for next season, and a lot of people would shoot me 5.5. I mean, that's it's a pretty low bar. But when you go back and you and you hear those teams that you just rattled off right there, there's a good reason why people are kind of setting the bar so low. And I think it also goes back to what we were talking about again with the questions about what's going on in the running backs room and where's kind of the strength of the team going to be next year. So I don't know. I mean, I think 6 is kind of your mark. I think you're hoping for bowl eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's really going to upset some people because there's a lot of folks that just did not feel that Nebraska went out there and did what they had to do to kind of get guys out of the portal. Look, the quantities, and I think a lot of people throw a lot of shade at what happened like in the high school recruiting class. And the rankings with it are not good. They went out there and they got probably a guy or two that it's gonna really contribute this season, like with Odom and Rule. And you got some other guys there obviously that are gonna be able to help out. But I think, in the end, you got to that 26 mark, maybe 27. And I think you're still getting to that overall 25-ish number that you're going to get to every single year. But I just don't feel good about like where things are at. And I know a lot of things change from one year to the next. There's not the reset word didn't sit well with Matt Rule, so I won't use it. But there's a lot of things that basically change from one year to the next with all these programs because of all the different things that they get to do between the high school and the portal ranks. So 6 wins though, still name only looking at those schools and basically looking at, at home or away and the out of conference schedule, not as easy as last year either.
So Trey Taylor and Antavius Ellis are going to be playing high school football in Omaha at Millard South. And I love it. I love the enthusiasm. I love that recruiting class. I love everything about it. My question is, Trey Taylor says we want the number 1 class. We want, and they're not afraid to list off who they want. And one of them is Ahmad Houston. I'm just going to ask you point blank. Does he wind up a Husker?
I would lean towards no, but I think it's going to be interesting all the way to July. And I think there's going to be a really interesting weekend next weekend when he obviously takes a visit. That's going to be a big one for Nebraska. I think what you're up against, however, and this is it's not going to come down to what Nebraska can't do for him or the fact that Trey and Tay aren't enough. That's not it at all. It comes back to just being a guy that grew up in the backyard of LSU and having, legacy ties to the Tigers. And I really feel like that in, Lane Kiffin, of course, being in Baton Rouge, I think those things are going to be really difficult for the Huskers to kind of get around. But I mean, the Huskers have made it very interesting. And obviously Ahmad is, he's getting a lot of clicks and a lot of likes out of all the things he's saying online. He's saying all the right things. He's got a lot of people jazzed up about it. People can forget about him coming to Millard South to follow those guys. I've already chased that lead down. But I think on top of that, I think it's going to be very, very, very difficult for Nebraska to get him to come north and follow those guys. I think there's just too much going for him down there in the boot.
Didn't he at one point tweet out something along the lines, how crazy would Husker fans go if I committed right now?
Yeah. I mean, and those were about the time that was like right before Christmas, I think. And I mean, there I was, back up there enjoying all the nice weather that you guys were having out there on the west side of the state when I was with my wife and her family. And I'm chasing down crazy rumors that, and I got to be ready to go on Ahmad Hudson, deciding to commit during the holidays. So yeah, there's a lot of, click harvesting or whatever you want to call it, is kind of going on. But I think genuinely he has a tremendous relationship and connection to the state. I think he loves the passion of the Nebraska fans. He clearly has, a connection to Trey and Tay. And I think that, if he wasn't in Louisiana and he doesn't have these ties, I think it would be a much more interesting, fight for the Huskers. But right now, they've just got too many things, I think, going against them to hope that they're going to get him up there to Lincoln.
Mm-hmm. Is the one maybe ace in the hole that Nebraska can play that may not be enough what Nebraska basketball is doing right now and just the offense that they run? I mean, as a guy that I know, maybe it's his second love, how much of a dream would it be to play in that offense?
I'm telling you what, that may be the X factor for Nebraska. Is that he does have a legit chance to be a complete and total standout stud on both sports in the Big Ten for the Huskers, and he has to. I did ask him because I was checking on some things about next week, and I asked him this earlier this week. I said, "Are you going to watch Nebraska tonight?" He said, "Oh yeah, I'll be watching Nebraska all weekend." And he is clearly engaged with what's going on there in Lincoln. He understands what they're doing right now. I'm really interested, of course, to catch up with him following next weekend's visit. He'll be there for the game. I think it's Saturday against Illinois, if I remember correctly.
So, yes, it's actually Sunday against Illinois.
Sunday. My apologies. I don't cover basketball, but I've been involved as much as a guy can be from 800 miles away. So that being said, I think it's going to be very interesting to catch up with him on Sunday night to kind of see how all the things go. But playing basketball at Nebraska right now under Hoiberg could be genuinely an X factor in this whole process for him.
Mm-hmm. So I know you don't cover basketball, but before we let you go, Brian, has it been as fun living 800 miles away as it has been living? I live 2 miles away from PBA. Has it been as fun watching?
I've absolutely loved it. I have these communications now with a lot of people that go to PBA every single week, and they always talked about how great of an environment it always was, and that they hope that they could kind of get the kind of team that they have this year. And they are living on cloud 9 there in Lincoln, and they are totally excited about it. And I've obviously, followed from afar, not really been as connected. Now I'm penciling out my week to figure out, of course, like a Tuesday night's a big one for me, right? And then you got Tuesday followed by Sunday. So this is a massive week for me to kind of make sure that I'll be in front of it. But yeah, I can't recall me ever doing this. And honestly, I'm doing it for both the men and the women this year. I think the women's team is also playing terrific. So lots of things going on there at the PBA to be excited about.
Yeah, they got a big win yesterday and improved to 15-5. They'll probably jump up to 22 or 23 in the standings. How weird is it going to be tomorrow morning about noon and read a story about and then probably tweet about it just because that's what, you kind of feel like you need to do in your position. It's Nebraska sports, et cetera, even though your focus is more on football. But, by the way, the 5th ranked top 5 Nebraska basketball teams going to play at number 2 Michigan tomorrow night.
I tell you what, it is just Andy Katz being there in the stands, talking about it, and just chatting about how great of an environment it is, and where Hoiberg kind of that is with the Big Ten Coach of the Year, and if he wins that game, being in the picture for National Coach of the Year, which I don't even know how he couldn't be the front runner at this point, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, yes, absolutely. It's one of those. It's the parallel universe, I think, obviously to Signetti in Indiana. Where it's taken a few more years for Fred to get here, and the offense definitely has changed and evolved, and sort of the personnel. But man, I tell you what, this year's team, very, very fun to watch, and I'm just excited to tune in on Tuesday night. That's for sure.
Awesome. Brian Munson from Husker Online, thank you so much for joining us on the Summit Lawns Talk and Text line. We will have you back soon.
Thanks for having me, guys. Stay warm.
All right. Yeah, we will do our best there. Holy smokes. Minus 25 wind chill tonight. Great stuff from Brian as always. And we're going to get even more great stuff when we come back. Up next, Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer Beau Reid, right here on Husker Rewind on 1400 KLIN.
Which room in your home could use new flooring? Carpets Direct is your #1 source for all things floors, providing
Melby.
It is cold. The winter has gone south. I mean, the weather has gone south, or whatever it is. It's cold enough to make a brass monkey clink, I'll tell you that.
On Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
All righty. Welcome back. It is Husker Rewind here on 1499.3 KLIN. We are efforting Mr. Beau Reid. Getting a lot of voicemails today.
We are. Is it me? Is it me? Am I the problem?
I don't know. At any rate, I just had Brian Munson on talking about football recruiting. We covered Trey and Tay that are going to be playing football for Millard South next year, and their peer recruiting efforts. Ahmad Hudson is a guy that everybody wants. He's a 5-star tight end. He grew up in LSU's backyard. The snake oil salesman that is Lane Kiffin has got a ton of snake oil to offer him.
Yep.
And I enjoy, because I always thought with this whole thing and trying to follow his recruitment, I always kind of got the feeling that Nebraska basketball having a successful year this year. So go back to the summer of the football season. I thought, if Nebraska basketball has a decent year this year, like if they get to the tourney, they get the monkey off their backs. Let's say they get to a Sweet 16. Like this is prior to today.
Let's go crazy.
Okay, let's go back.
Yeah.
75 days or so before the season really got started. And, hey, let's say it's a magical run and we somehow wind up, I don't know, 22-9 going into the Big Ten tournament. And
let's go there.
Yeah. Let's
do it.
And does the chance to play for a team that's on the rise on the basketball court is that something that might
the final
entice him?
Yeah.
And so when I asked Brian Munson that, his response, I loved it. Is that might be the X factor, is the fact that here's a guy that literally he's got the frame.
Yeah.
Michael Jacobson, that was a basketball player for Nebraska, went to Iowa State.
Yep.
Guess where he played pro ball?
Enlighten me.
Cincinnati as a tight end.
No kidding.
I believe it was Cincinnati. Yeah. But he wound up in the NFL as a tight end.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, Ahmad Houston is a tight end that has just sick basketball skills. He's a 4-star in basketball. And I think I ran down his point line the other night. He had 10 points, 22 rebounds, 7 blocks and 4 assists.
Some impressive stats.
Yeah. I'm just saying that probably would fit in Fred's offense pretty well.
I think we could suffer through it.
A guy that does that.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, we're still efforting, trying to track down Beau Reid. I think Tom may be trying to help us here to sending him a text or something
from beyond the grave
to give us a call. At any rate, looking ahead at Nebraska's schedule. So we've got Michigan on the road in Ann Arbor on Tuesday. It's a 6 p.m. tip. I'm going to throw out that I'm going to go downtown.
Okay.
On Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm going to go probably close to PBA.
Really? All right.
And I'm going to go probably across the street from PBA.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to name names.
Yeah.
But the wall of TVs in there to me is probably one of the most impressive. So that's where I would like to go watch the game.
Makes a grown man cry.
And if I can get Tommy to come down there and hang out, if you want to come down and hang out, we'll invite Jack Mitchell down. I don't know, but I would love to go downtown across from PBA Tuesday night and hang out at an establishment that probably has some food, that probably has some beverages that we can toast when Nebraska does well. And so I don't know. That's where I want to watch the game. So we'll see what happens. At any rate, joining us now on the Summit Lawn Talk and Text line, Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer, Mr. Beau Reid. Beau, happy Sunday afternoon.
Thank you. Same to you. How are you doing?
Doing well. Tom out today. As I've told everybody, he got into an argument with a small town Nebraska tater tot from a greasy spoon somewhere, and he lost. So he's a little under the weather.
You never win that argument.
No, and the funny thing is, we were talking earlier today, and he said, he thought it was the flu before, but he's pretty sure it was food poisoning now. And I actually missed a show about a month and a half ago from food poisoning. Not fun. So at any rate, how is your Sunday? Are you following the NFL playoffs at all?
I'm watching the Rams and the Seahawks right now.
So, who's your team?
My team's always been the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was more of a rebel move because my dad was a Cleveland Browns fan. So I grew up in Ohio.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a rebel move.
Nice. Well, I was going to say it would be like if I'm a Cowboys fan. So when you said Steelers fan, thank you. I was a little bit. The flip side is though, all because of Mike Tomlin more than anything. I have so much respect for that organization now versus I don't hate him. I actually kind of cheer for him because of Mike Tomlin. We'll see how things go moving forward. Where did you watch the game?
Hired the Cowboys old coach?
Yeah, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, how are you feeling about that?
That's a terrible hire.
Thank you. That's exactly what I said when Jerry hired him. So
I was hoping the Steelers would go get Harbaugh. I think the Giants hit a home run getting him. I think he's a winner.
They did. I'll be honest with you. Like, there's 31 teams, and probably not. There's probably 25 teams in the NFL that the second Harbaugh and Baltimore parted ways, they should have fired their coach and called him.
Absolutely.
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
Kind of like what the Patriots did with Rabel.
Yeah, exactly. Were you at the game yesterday? Did you drive up?
No, I didn't. I watched it, though, with a bunch of friends, and we fried up some chicken gizzards. It was a pretty good day.
Nice. Yeah, I was talking to Brian Christopherson back in hour number one, and he said he was amazed. Nebraska fans traveling well isn't like some revelation. Traveling well for basketball is just because men's basketball has never been to the point where you'd have a ton of people that want to go on the road because, we haven't been 20-0 before. But back when you played, it was easier to get to the arenas. Nebraska traveled well there.
Driving distance.
Yeah.
Nowhere was more than 5 hours away.
Yeah. Well, and
BC, Nebraska fans.
Yeah, BC also brought up though that there were like 8 or 9 media members, whereas on the road there's normally 2 or 3, and even that is encouraging. What'd you think about the game? Analyze both halves and ultimately what took place.
Well, the first half, I thought Minnesota shot the ball out of their minds. So even though we were down 6 at half, I've just seen Fred make adjustments in every game this year. And I just wasn't nervous. Like, I know a lot of people were nervous, like, oh, this is going to be the game that we just don't get it going. But I feel like he's almost like Tom Osborne was back in the day. He pays attention to how you're guarding our sets. And there's counters to every single way that you're going to defend it. And I feel like they forced screens until they got Sanford on the one kid on their defense that was pretty lazy. And that kid would stand up the second Sanford didn't have the ball, and Sanford would cut back door or run a flare screen or come over the top. I mean, Fred's a brilliant coach. I just feel like we made a great adjustment at halftime to stop with their motion on offense that was leading to all those open shots. And I mean, I don't know. I think we got a 50-50 shot to beat Michigan at Michigan. I don't feel like it's this big uphill climb.
Well, you don't feel like it's the big uphill climb. Realistically, I thought it was a giant uphill climb when Nebraska played Michigan in football, even though it was at home this year.
Right.
Well,
the uphill climb for me was when we played Illinois on the road. And then when we beat them, I told anyone who would listen, hey, you don't win that game unless you're for real. We're legitimately for real. Like, when we beat them on the road, I thought that was an unbelievable win. It still might be the best win in the Big Ten this year.
Absolutely. And the other thing, I keep mentioning this to everybody that's come on with us. We had Brian Munson on a little while ago. About 11 o'clock Central tomorrow, Nebraska is going to be the 5th ranked team in the country.
Yeah.
Insane.
It's fun. I always thought when they hired Fred that this is where we'd go. It just took a lot longer than I thought. But Fred had never coached in the Big Ten, so he literally had to learn how to build a Big Ten roster. And whether it's an accident, this year parallels my senior year in a lot of ways. Like, you had a couple guys sitting out with injury. You had a transfer come in, or, a guy like Sanford comes in. and all of a sudden our lineup looks a lot different, and a lot older than what it did at the end of last year.
Absolutely. And you and I talked about this a couple of months back, where I was a little I think it was after like the exhibition game when Tom and I had you on, and I said it reminded me of like Fred at Big Ten Media Days was a little offended that we were picked 14th, and that goes back to your senior year at Big 8 Media Days when Danny Nee looked at everybody and he goes, "Why the hell did you pick us last?"
Yeah, he goes, "Have you not seen our roster?"
Yeah, and with Fred, I think part of it is you do realize we have a couple of guys that could be grandpas, right? Like we've got an old team.
Well, I don't think anyone had any sense. I think when they said Rink was having that microfracture surgery, I mean, that is a 50-50 deal. And only Fred knew how hard that kid worked and how well he was doing and how slow they made him take it. I think Fred knew all along, if that kid's healthy, we're going to be really good. And so, having Jamarcus come back, that kid is critical to the pace of the game for us. And I think if he's not first team all Big Ten defensive, there's a problem. I mean, that kid's the best on the ball defender in the Big Ten, and I don't think it's close. He absolutely gets after people.
So let me ask you this. Does Nebraska put 2 on the first team all defensive team in the Big Ten? Because Sam Hoiberg is leading the league in steals.
Yeah, up there too. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good chance. And don't get me wrong, Sam deserves it as well. I just think Jamarcus does so many things that really changes the tone of the game for us. He sets the pace on offense, because if you have to hustle back on defense and it creates any level of chaos on defense, we're gonna hit a 3. I mean, it is like the second he gets that ball up the floor fast and people are turning and looking, and you don't get to rest against us. If you stand up on defense for 1 second to just rest and you turn your head, someone's shooting a 3-point shot in your eye.
The Washington coach Sprinkle mentioned the conditioning, and as I watch, I always go back. I've watched every single game at least twice, a couple of them about 5 or 6 times. I've yet to rewatch yesterday, and I can't wait to do so, because as it was unfolding, watching Price Sanford without the ball felt like watching Steph Curry. And I'm not comparing shots.
I said the same thing. I said the same exact thing, watching him move without the ball. And I will tell you, Minnesota got tired. They couldn't play the level of defense they played in the first half. Plus, we got a lot more efficient and a lot more purposeful with what we were trying to do down on the offensive end. I mean, for this whole year, my dad was my high school coach. My dad has coached my whole life. And on every game that I'm not at, I'm on the phone with him trying to figure out how in the hell are we playing defense. And it's like, the best way I can describe it is it's the principles of Bobby Knight's defense by forcing baseline and rotating out and trapping the best scorer when it comes off a ball screen, to modifying that to today's basketball game where you have to defend the 3-point line. And I don't know how he's done it, but I think we're the best defensive team in the Big Ten. I mean, it's us or Michigan State probably.
Well, and in reality, it's not even Fred that did it. It's Nate Linzer. Fred even said, he goes, "I'm the offensive coordinator. Nate's the defensive coordinator. This is all him." And the fact that he's passing that credit is incredible.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, Fred's the loyal guy to the people that have been with him a long time. And I just think Fred finally has a team, a roster of kids that can play the way he wants them to play. So it makes it, I mean, you're not going to find a guy that knows the game better than Fred. I mean, he moves his chess pieces around pretty intelligently. We just haven't had kids that can always execute it. And this year we do.
Absolutely. I want to ask you a little bit about the way, because you played. You had nights that guys were on, guys were off. They weren't filling the role. Somebody else had to step into it. And it's been alluded to by opposing coaches that every player, the Cale Jacobsons, the Sam Hoibergs, know their role, and they do it to the best that they could possibly play it. But what astonishes me is when Rink Mast is off, he's not playing his role of scoring 17 points a game and grabbing 8 or 9 rebounds. He's been off from a scoring standpoint. Cale Jacobson comes up and goes on a 7-point run because he has to. That's his role now. Sam Hoiberg, nobody's making anything. Sam's the only one that makes threes in the first half and has 14 points. That's not his role, but he needed it to be that first. How do they identify this? How are they doing this?
Well, the reality that I think is just utterly amazing that we didn't even have. We had moments in our season where people resorted to playing selfishly, realizing that they hadn't scored in double figures in a few games, and they forced the issue and try to score. And I haven't seen one player do that on this basketball team, not for 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't seen one player play selfishly. And I mean, it's incredible to me. I think it's one of the more amazing things I've seen. They play their role, ranks out. We're going to have to get offense from somewhere. And they're just prepared to take that open shot if it comes to them. It's not like, Kale hits that three in the corner in the middle of his 7-point run. And it's not like he hesitated. He's wide open. He knows he's wide open. Shoot the ball. And he knows that if he came off the floor after that in a timeout, Fred would have yelled at him if he didn't. Kale, you got to shoot that ball. We're not going to get a better shot than that,
Okay, so sorry, go ahead and finish.
No, go ahead.
Okay, well, I was going to say the halftime. Fred talks about in the post game. I kind of got on him, and then Nate got on him, and then I got back on him. Go back to how was Danny when it was halftime? Was he ever not a little crazy? Was he ever just even keel? What was it like at halftime when you guys played well and when you guys didn't play well?
That whole year was a little bit of an anomaly because at the beginning of the year, Coach Nee was crazy because we were picked last in the Big Eight, and we had a big chip on our shoulder. But as the year went on, it kind of turned for Coach Nee when we won at Wisconsin Green Bay, and they were clearly an NCAA tournament team. And he just came in the locker room. He said, we just beat a really good basketball team on their home floor in front of one of the worst crowds I've ever been a part of. That was as good of a win as I can remember here. And that's when I think Coach Nee started believing in us. And he stopped being that emotional roller coaster and started being like, okay, we're fine. We're going to make a run. They made their run in the first half. We're going to come out. We're going to be fine. And I think I remember that more than anything in the Big Eight semifinals against Kansas when we got down 13. He wasn't panicking at all in the huddle. He's like, Coach Bargan, tell them what we're going to do to counter this deal that they're doing they were trapping a low rub screen that we always ran to get our bigs into the post open, and they had changed the way they were defending it, and we were struggling with it. And Coach Bargan got in there and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. And it was just, it was a calm adjustment that they made. And so I think that changed midway through the year, but Fred says he got on him. Can you imagine Fred really raising his voice?
No. No.
He's just calm, cool, and collected like Coach Osborne,
Yeah.
The most you get out of Coach Osborne was dadgummit,
I do remember one game last year, though. Fred came out for the post game, and he had a bandage on his hand because he'd evidently broke a clipboard.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, well, you don't play, 12 years in the NBA, 14 years, however long you played, without having a little
edge to you,
competitiveness in you.
Yeah. And it was interesting. There's been a couple of people that have posted some old videos of him when he was playing in the NBA, and he wasn't just a dude that shot threes. Like he had some decent moves to get to the basket. Looking ahead to Michigan on Tuesday night, obviously a huge game. Coach Hoiberg has said this is the team he thinks is the best team in the country and has the best chance to win the national title. And what are your thoughts kind of going into it? What do you think Nebraska is going to do to try to slow Michigan down?
We're going to have to force them to be perimeter oriented. They're going to have to beat us from the three. And they've had games this year where they make threes, and those are the games where they blow people out. But as of late, they haven't shot the three very well, and they've struggled. They've struggled to win. They're still winning because they're superior athletically. And I think, for me, that's the biggest thing I'll be watching is to see if we can guard them without fouling. because if we get in foul trouble, especially down low, it could be a long night.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about Oogie. He's a young man that was a MAC Player of the Year last year. Tons of talent. We saw in the one game that he played, he's a guy that could give you 15 minutes a game and have a stat line that's 8 points, 6 boards, 2 blocks, and an assist. If there is a chance that he could play regardless of how many games, and it's going to be up to him, obviously, and there's going to be, there's probably already been a ton of conversation, but is that something that you think would happen or could happen if he does get healthy?
Yeah, what I don't know is if they're willing to give him another year based on medical hardship. If that happens, Fred will save him for next year and try to make him our ranked mass next year. If they deny that, then they're going to have to try to get something out of him. And I mean, that one game he played, his first 5 minutes he played, he looked like he was scared it was going to hurt. And then in the second half, he scored 9 points in 30 seconds. Like, you can tell that kid has game. It's a shame he's not healthy this year. If he's healthy, we're scary good. Like, because he shoots the ball. I mean, 40% from 3 last year in the MAC as a 7'1" kid. So, I mean, that's just a rare skill. It's a brink type skill. So it'd be cool if he's able to play a little. But gosh, at this point, I don't know how you mess with the chemistry. And he'd have to prove that he can rotate and cover like Burke. Burke, that's the guy that's noticeably in better shape than last year. That kid was not in great condition last year, and he hurt us defensively a lot of times. That kid, he does a lot of the dirty work if you watch him. He's physical, and I've been impressed by him this year. He's a good passer.
He really is. The best part of Burke's game is he can have an amazing play where he does a spin move, schools a guy, dunks on a guy, and he runs down the court like it's no big deal. Yet he could get in fighting for a rebound, wind up taking an elbow and bleeding, and it is like he just won the national title.
Yeah. The crowd loves him. He plays hard. He plays, with his heart on his sleeve, and he's doing anything he can to help him win, which is every kid on that team. Everyone has their role. He's embraced his role as kind of the enforcer, the guy that's banging down in the post and scrapping and fighting for rebounds. And I'll bet he's gotten 15 or 16 rebounds this year, tipping the ball to himself, almost like Dennis Rodman. He's kind of fun to watch because he's not great athletically, but he gets the most out of his talent for sure.
I was going to say he does. He reminds me of Rodman at times with the way he goes after rebounds. Illinois next Sunday. I want to bring the game up because Nebraska is going to have a recruit on campus that is a 2-sport player. And I was just talking to Brian Munson about Ahmad Hudson, the tight end, 5-star tight end. He's a 4-star basketball player. His stat line one game not too long ago, 10 points, 22 boards, 7 blocks, and 4 assists. I asked Brian, he said, it's more than likely LSU. And I said, could Nebraska basketball, because of what we're doing this season, be a factor in the one small chance Nebraska has? And he said, yes, that could truly be an X factor in that whole thing. Have you been following much with Ahmad Hudson and what's going on with his recruitment at all?
Yeah, I have. And I do think it's going to come down to whichever school lets him play basketball, because I know he wants to play. And he's like a Giannis type athlete. Like, the dude's a freak. And he would really help us next year. And I think Fred would say, heck yeah, come play basketball all day long.
Well, and every indication is that Fred is 100% in on it.
Yeah, I think he is too. And I do think that that's going to be a big factor in that kid's decision because, I think Nebraska basketball probably has the advantage on basketball, but I think Coach Rule and his staff are going to have to show this kid the path to where we're gonna get better next year.
Absolutely. Beau Reid joining us on the Summit Lawns Talk and Text Line. Beau, always great conversation. Where are you going to watch the game tomorrow?
I think a handful of friends, we're going to go up to Lost Rail and watch the game and get a table up there and hoot and holler and have a couple beers.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, I was hinting around because we don't have anything set up that's paid for like a watch party, but I decided
Come up?
I might. Well, I got kicked out of the house. I'm no longer allowed to watch Husker games in the house right now. Unless I'm absolutely dead quiet, I can't. I can jump around, but I can't yell and scream.
Yeah.
I've actually had to leave the house a couple of times to go watch, and so that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow because I know I'm gonna lose my mind, or on Tuesday. So yeah, I may come up.
So fun this year that for the last 20 years, Creighton's had 2 or 3 guys every year that if they're open on an offensive possession, you're like, dang, that's in. Like you just know, shit, he's making that. We've got 5 guys that if they're open, you're like, that's in your face. Like that's going in. Like every guy on our team, when they shoot it, even Burke has a kind of a pretty shot. It feels like you left him open. That's a bucket,
Yeah, he's shooting 20% from 3, but that one's going in.
Yeah, Jamarcus, by the way, played a pretty big role in that game. As obviously Sam carried the load in the first half, but Jamarcus, I always pay attention to possessions. Like they've scored 6 in a row. It's a big possession. We have to get something in the paint or get fouled, get an open 3. Jamarcus made 3 or 4 baskets where he dribble penetrated and shot it from about 10 feet in the lane.
Yep. And
almost every single one of those was to stop a Minnesota run. I just think that kid plays with a tremendous amount of poise this year. And he's our X factor, I think, because he took over that game in Indiana. He took over the game in Illinois at times. Like he's going to be our guy against Michigan, I have a feeling.
I hope you are right. Well, have a fantastic time watching the game. I don't know. I might drive up and go watch it with you guys.
Well, shoot me a text. Come up.
Okay, it will do. Thank you again. Great conversation. Always love having you on. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
You
Take
bet.
care.
Beau Reid, Nebraska basketball Hall of Famer. Just the way he will take, like I'll throw situations, questions out to him, and the way he'll take them. And I always love asking him about Danny and what was it like when you were here and there to compare, to try to, because we can't ask Price Sant for, okay, was Fred really that mad?
Yeah. What's going on backstage?
Yeah. And just the fact that as he, one of our other guests that we have on during volleyball season is Tanya Taki, former Nebraska middle blocker, and she knows the game so well, and she's able to explain it so well. He just said he doesn't quite understand Nate Linzer's defense.
Yeah.
I understand Nate Linzer's defense a million times more than I did before that phone call.
Yeah.
Because of the way Beau explained what we do. Color commentators have alluded to what Beau said, just in a very poor way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's why we always love having Beau on.
Absolutely. One of the greats.
He is. That's Brian Streeter. I'm Mike Melby. Tom Stevens on the shelf this week. We have got one more segment to go. You know what? We're going to roll out picks of density if you can find the deal after the break, and we'll do a little predicting on Nebraska, Michigan, Nebraska, Illinois, and I'll see if I can find some other fun games to talk about as well. More Husker Rewind after this on 1400 KLIN.
You're listening to Husker Rewind. Sean Hannity is next on 1490. Nebraska's national titles.
They don't have him yet. Look at Tommy Frazier. How many tackles can one man break? Touchdown.
Yet young enough to remember what they had for lunch.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
On Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind. I'm Mike Belby. That is Brian Streeter. And it has been a hell of a show. It flew. Brian Christopherson with just nugget of gold after nugget of gold. Same thing from Brian Munson.
Yeah.
And then nobody better than Beau Reid. I mean, I'll be honest with you. As good as Beau Reid is, Andy Markowski is one of our guests as well. They both are phenomenal, but Beau with some brilliant insight and just unbelievable. Nebraska picks up the big win over the Minnesota Golden Gophers up at the barn on Saturday, 76-57. Coach Hoiberg, after the game, I want to do the first one I want you to play is on conditioning.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Yeah, I think you've seen that several times this year, Robin, as we've gotten stronger as the game has gone on. When they went over and reviewed it, that gave a little bit more of an extended, that gave, kind of immediate timeout, 2 minutes, I think, before the under 12. So that gave us a chance to keep those guys in there a little bit more. But yeah, Kurt Joseph, our strength coach, our sports scientist, Matt Tome, I know I've talked about this in the past, but those guys continue to do great work. We didn't do a lot of live reps the last 2 days. 2 days before, the day after the Washington game, we didn't do any. It was all mental reps. And then yesterday we did about 15 minutes of live play. So we're going to have to continue with that. We just don't have a lot of bodies right now. And, I got to make sure these guys are fresh during the game.
Unbelievable. And as I mentioned to Beau, I said watching Price Sanford without the ball is like watching Steph Curry. And I didn't say Curry. He's like, I thought that's it. Yeah. So if you say, hey, wow, Husker Hall of Famer agrees with something I thought of. That's awesome. It's watching him go back, folks, go back and watch. If you've got the game recorded, like I have all of them recorded, or find it on YouTube, but watch the second half and watch Price Sanford. He never stops moving, and it's just hilarious.
Yeah.
And when he gets the backdoor cuts, it's hilarious because you can tell the other guy is like, are you done?
I can't keep up with this. Yeah.
All righty, pick another one.
Hoiberg, actually, speaking of Sanford, has a good thing about getting Sanford going. Here it is.
Yeah, they were really staying connected to him. And it's a lot easier to do when you don't have any pace, and we didn't because we were taking the ball out of the net. And that's one thing Minnesota does a great job. They don't give many free baskets. They get back in transition. Second half, when we rebounded the ball or got steals, that's what got Price going. And once he gets going, he gets confident, those looks are a lot easier, and he can start taking a few more contested ones. I thought our cutting, our movement, our screening, everything we did in that second half, and that forced them into a little bit more of a switch defense, which isn't their primary defense. But give Minnesota credit. They came out, they were the harder playing team at the first half. It was disappointing for us, but a lot of our struggles was because of what Minnesota did. And Nico's a great coach. This program is in really, really good hands.
It is. I'm talking about Nebraska's. Not going to do picks of density other than me saying 21-0.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
All righty. Brian Streeter, thank you so much for filling in. Great job.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. It was. Tom and I may be back next week. We'll figure it out. It's going to be post-game of Nebraska, Illinois next Sunday. Everybody have yourselves a fantastic week. See ya.
A new year is the perfect time to make smarter financial